What's good everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. And did Nintendo and mobile gaming kill Sony in Japan? That might be the case now that we have this new article from VGC that's been confirmed by Sony that Sony's oldest first-party studio, Sony Japan Studios, will be winding down operations absorbed into Team Asobi that does, I think, like Astrobot. Yeah, they're the Astrobot people. And the IPs that we know and love them for are going to be dispersed among the Sony Studios label, essentially just taking them away from the people that created them and probably not coming back anytime soon, with many of the big developers that made Sony Japan Studios games leaving to form indie companies or just going off to do other things. So VGC has the topic on this here, guys, has the article, and we're going to go ahead and read it off first, read off what Sony responded to, and then we'll talk about some of the other things if Nintendo and mobile gaming actually kind of killed them off in Japan. But to be honest, guys, I saw this from a mile away, but like I said, we will discuss that. So according to this article, VGC is on it. It says that Sony is winding down Sony Japan Studios. PlayStation is doing that. Now, Sony is winding down original game development at its oldest first-party developer, Japan Studio. Multiple sources have told VGC. The iconic developer behind Ape Escape, Gravity Rush, and Knack has seen the vast majority of its development staff let go. The sources said after their annual contracts were not renewed ahead of the company's next business year, which begins on April 1st. Now, localization and business staff will remain in place, and the Asobi team, the group responsible for the Astrobot games, will continue as a standalone studio within Sony Japan, it's claimed. Now, some of Sony Japan staff will join Asobi, we were told, while others have followed Silent Hill and Gravity Rush director Kenichiro Toyama, who left Japan Studio last year to form his own studio. Now, it's not entirely clear if the restructure has affected the studio's external development department, which collaborated on games such as last year's Demon's Souls, but one person VGC spoke to suggested it would continue. Now, here is the update from Sony. Sony Interactive Entertainment has sent VGC a statement confirming that what remains of Japan Studio will be absorbed into Team Asobi, as per their report. It's also stated that external development and other divisions will be relocated within PlayStation business on April 1st, a spokesperson said. Quote, in an effort to fully strengthen business operations, SIE can confirm PlayStation Studios Japan Studio will be reorganized into a new organization on April 1st. Japan Studio will be recentered to Team Asobi, the creative team behind Astro's Playroom, allowing the team to focus on a single vision and build on the popularity of Astro's Playroom. In addition, the roles of external production software localization and IP management of Japan Studio titles will be concentrated within global functions of PlayStation Studios. Now, the original article does continue where they did talk about a couple other things. Multiple Japan Studio developers have announced their departure from the company on social media in the last few days, including Bloodborne producer Masaki Yamagiwa and video manager Ryo Sagabe, who are both leaving at the end of February, while a cryptic tweet from executive producer Masami Yamoto also hints at his departure, which you guys will have links to all of that. Now, this also follows several high-profile staff that are leaving the studio. At the end of 2020, Silent Hill and Gravity Rush series director Kenichiro Toyama announced his departure to set up the Bokeh Game Studio. He founded this new venture with fellow Sony Japan veterans Kazunobu Saito and Junya Okuda. Meanwhile, the producer of Bloodborne and Demon's Souls remake, Hiroyuki Toriyama, said he was leaving SIE Japan at the end of 2020. People with knowledge of the matter told VGC that Sony Japan Studio simply hasn't been profitable enough in recent years. The developer wanted to create games that appealed to the Japanese market first, with hopes of having global appeal, while PlayStation wants the kind of global hits that its other first-party studios produce. So that's the bigger Western studios and all of that. So let's discuss this just a bit, guys, because that, I think, at the very end there is one of the things that I talked about with the PlayStation Studio, is that with what's going on in Japan, everything that's been happening so far with PlayStation Japan Studios, their games, Gravity Rush 1, Gravity Rush 2, The Last Guardian, Shadow of the Colossus, like all these games that they've done have not been up to the profitability as they would want, and they're not selling in Japan. In Japan, Sony has been on a 10-year decline for stationary consoles. The Vita had a little bit of a surge, but since the PlayStation 3, it's just been on a downhill decline. PS3 to PS4, and now with the PlayStation 5, that is the worst debut of a PlayStation console of all time. They're just not selling enough. Their games that they thought could be a hit in Japan never were. Gravity Rush never got off to the starts they wanted to get off to in terms of for the Japanese market. And they've never been able to really recover when it comes down to it. I mean, to give Sony some credit here, they stuck with them for a long time, well past what they were actually making when it comes down to their games, because none of their games in recent memory that I can think of have ever done great numbers like an Uncharted or like a 7-8 million or even anywhere near that range. They've all been smaller end titles, and I don't exactly know why. Now, we'll get into the whole Nintendo thing in the mobile gaming because that's kind of where this is leading to. But I don't understand why their games didn't do better, because they made high quality games. Games like Gravity Rush are really good, and I don't know why that didn't have more appeal in Japan in addition to worldwide. It seems to me like the games that Sony Japan Studio made were games that were going to be hits locally with Japan and also worldwide. They seemed very sometimes Nintendo-y at times, to where you have these great themes, you have great characters, you have good graphics, you just have good everything for the most part with these games, and they never really took off the way that they should have, even when they gave you spectacular deals. I mean, look at games like Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 4. That remake is incredible from Bluepoint, and that didn't take off either, and it was a discounted price. That should have done a lot better for the quality, the reviews of that game, and people just seem to ignore, when it comes to PlayStation, ignore these games when PlayStation has had some of these massive install bases, especially on PlayStation 4, where Sony went all in, like with Japan Studio. I mean, we had The Last Guardian, I mean, we had Gravity Rush 1 remastered, we had Gravity Rush 2, we had all sorts of cool stuff from Sony Japan Studio, and people were just like, nah, we're not gonna really buy this. So it's very unfortunate and sad to see. I mean, we'll probably never get a Legend of Dragoon. I mean, that's been a while now, but we'll probably never get that. I know they helped out with like Dark Cloud with level 5 and stuff. So all of that stuff is probably going to be gone by the wayside, probably never coming back, but you never know. So I guess you should never say never. But let's talk about some of the other stuff that's been going on here, because I've been covering the Japanese sales and what's been going on with Nintendo and everything, the portable market. And this is a shift that's been happening, like I said, for the past decade plus. It's been shifting towards the portable consoles and mobile gaming. In Japan, mobile gaming is huge. Being able to grab your phone, being able to play on the bus or the train or after school or at your friend's house, that is something that's very valuable there. It's something that people like. And Sony, unfortunately, with the Vita, didn't sell enough, even in Japan, didn't do enough, and of course, worldwide flopped. So that was very unfortunate. So once they lost that, kind of like the Japanese market was lost to them completely, because Nintendo came out with a hybrid, a home console and a portable, and Japan isn't as gung-ho on graphics as the rest of the world, especially here in the West. So when Nintendo comes out with a system and you have games like Fire Emblem, which is big in Japan and does well. You have games like, of course, Mario games that do well, but you have stuff like Pokemon Sword and Shield. You have stuff like Bravely Default. You have all these different types of games, whether it's a smaller end game or bigger end game that can push some units in Japan, but then also have worldwide appeal. But talking about Japan in particular, and you're just getting outsold, literally getting outsold like 20 to 1 or 10 to 1, or where like 90-something% of the market is all Nintendo at this point. Very early on, when you just launched the system and the Nintendo Switch is already a number of years old, there is definitely a problem there, and that market has been ate up by Nintendo. So you kind of have to look at it and say, yeah, Nintendo definitely forced them out a bit. Now, if they were able to do better with Gravity Rush and their IP and fight back a little bit more in Japan, this probably wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have seen this. But the strength of what Nintendo's doing, along with mobile gaming, cell phone gaming, all the different free games and all the different stuff that's on there, it just completely kind of obliterated the big, bulky, stationary console. That's seen as a thing of the past for so many people in Japan. And it also doesn't help that Sony didn't have a lot of big Japanese games to start with. Yes, Demon Souls is amazing. The remake is really good, but that's not going to get a ton of Japanese gamers excited. And on top of that, you don't even have the stock anyway. So they're facing shortages, and Sony's not shipping a lot there because they don't have the Japanese games to back it up. So they need to ship it more to the West, where they're going to sell more with their big games that they already have. So it's just kind of like this whole storm that was brewing that I saw a mile away when I'd be analyzing the sales, when I'd be making videos. Some people didn't like what I had to say, but what I was saying was the truth with it, especially when I talked about with Atlas and if they can trust the PlayStation 5 for an exclusive Persona game going forward in the future. I was saying that not because I'm trying to troll or be whatever, fanboy or anything like that. It's more because I see the sales of what's going on, and it's been declining while the Nintendo Switch is rising and rising and rising, and mobile gaming is rising and rising and rising. People rather have the option to just play on their cell phone, in Japan at least, or just play a game on the Switch and have it to where you can play on the TV. It's small, compact, portable, and sleek, or you can play on the go. It just makes more sense for the lifestyle there, and the games that are coming out are just one after another, after another, after another. All of the different 3DS franchises that we know and love, and Japan knows and loves, are all on Nintendo Switch now, like the Fire Emblems and the Pokemons and Bravely Defaults and Octopath and all these different things that have had success. Some of it smaller, a lot of it bigger, like with Pokemon and everything. So it makes sense of what's going on here. So Nintendo and mobile gaming did kind of kill off Sony in Japan because their games just weren't able to compete with that type of play. I mean, they tried though. They tried with the PSP, they tried with the PlayStation Vita. It just didn't work out the way that they wanted it to work out. And now it's very unfortunate because look at where we're at this point. Because I actually love the Sony Japan Studio games. I love what they did. But it definitely seems like it's just going to be like Team Asobi, which is just, you know, Astrobot, which Astrobot's great and everything. But I kind of expected, you know, or wanted a bit more, you know, when it comes down to PS5. Like, it would have been awesome to get like a Gravity Rush 3 or something like that. But I mean, I know business, and obviously you need to make money in order to like spend the money. Like, you got to actually have the money coming in. So you can't fund Gravity Rush 3, or you can't fund Legend of Dragoon, or you can't fund these games if these games aren't selling. And that's the biggest problem with Sony Japan Studios, is that while they make fantastic games that I love and I buy them all, trust me, like, they're just not selling. So Sony can't or will not continue to put money and resources into something that's not doing well. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's not cheap to make these games because they're a capitalistic business and they need to make money. And this studio just isn't making them money, and they're getting absolutely destroyed when it comes to console sales and the kind of the way people are buying games and what they're buying. Like, every single time that you go on the Japanese sales charts, you see all Nintendo Switch games. Everything's Nintendo Switch games. Even if the game comes on PlayStation and Switch, a lot of times it sells better on the Nintendo Switch. Not every time. I know, like Persona 5 Strikers, but most of the time, or a lot of the times, it sells better on the Switch now going forward. So the install bases are just completely shifted towards Switch, despite it being a much newer system than the PS4 was in Japan. So the writing was kind of on the wall. So I see why Sony did this, but it doesn't make it any less sad. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to Sony downsizing Sony Japan Studio, their oldest and first party studio? Man, it's a little bit upsetting, but at the same time, it's something that I saw coming. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you for the next one. Peace.